after Opie and Anthony Live. What's up, buddy?
I'm going. I have training sessions soon, but I'm not taking the car with Kenny and Opie because I have to go upstairs and deposit something in the toilet.
Oh, you have to take a shit.
Yeah, I was just telling Troy I've been taking personal trainers, and my greatest fear, because I eat like fucking yogurt in the morning, is I'm gonna fucking rip a gasser.
Oh, and you use female personal trainers,
yeah,
right?
and they're both really beautiful. But they're good trainers too. They fucking kick the shit out of me. Like it's different every time, and it's like stuff I would never do. But I'm literally not clenching my asshole shut through half the session because I fart a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I'm afraid one is gonna slip out in front of one of these chicks, and they are doozies, these gassers. So I've been making myself shit before I train.
You don't think that it would make you look like you're training extra hard? If you just let one out, like, it's the workout.
It's the man.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be mad, just the noise. Like, if it was like a little and there was no real stink, but mine are slow burn, putrid, humorless fucking farts.
The little sound would come out, and you and the girl would...
No, it would rip out, because I would be in the middle of a crunch, or like a mountain climbers, one girl calls them, where I'm on my fucking stomach doing the legs back and forth.
Yeah.
It's going to come out like, fart, and it's going to reek. It's going to be the most embarrassing experience of my life.
And like after everything, I'm sorry. Oh, it's okay. 3 minutes later, it's just still lingering,
Dude,
and she's like, oh, oh, that's disgusting.
And then she's going to go, let's just go to a different area of the gym. I'll be back in a minute.
We need to work on your diet, Jim. This is not healthy. Oh, I can't imagine how horrible that would be. And by that would be, I mean going to a personal trainer. But specifically, shitting and everything, my God. 516, you're on After Opie and Anthony Live. Thank you very much. 201.
Podcast premieres tomorrow.
Yes, the Opie and Anthony Show podcast premieres tomorrow. So people have been asking about finding it for all the different methods. As of now, it'll be on iTunes. So tomorrow, there is something on iTunes. If you go search Opie and Anthony Show or Opie and Anthony, if you go onto iTunes and search Opie and Anthony, you'll find the podcast, but it's not up yet. That's the thing that's up there that says it's the podcast. It's not the podcast. Why is Nicole... What's wrong? Nicole's just looking at me. It's not the podcast. It's like a little test file. There will be a podcast tomorrow. What's wrong, Nicole?
You look so lonely in here.
So lonely in here.
That's
right?
the whole mashup's in here now.
Yeah.
No,
What's
I'm
up,
okay.
Sam? You okay?
Okay.
That's what people don't understand. They come in like, who was in here? Oh, yeah. When Jason Shabiro was in here on Friday,
Yeah.
he goes, hey, man, you got a party going on in there. There's like 6 people. Everybody's just trying to talk and everything.
I'm just joking. I love you, Jason.
I go, yeah, sometimes it's like 6 of us all just trying to squeeze something in, and sometimes I'm just sitting there by myself.
Okay, well, you know what? If you want to have some alone time, baby, it's all you.
It's not alone time. I'm here with my listeners.
Oh, sorry.
You can't see him? There's Larry over there.
Yeah.
There's John in Sheboygan.
Hey, John. Sheboygan.
Snowy in Michigan. I see you.
What up, Snowy?
Everybody's around. Are you excited about your big debut?
I am. I'm so hip-hop.
Have you been Hollywooding the rest of the mashup?
No, never. We all got our own things going on.
Not on Fuse.
Yeah.
No, she's on Fuse.
She's on Fuse.
No, I'm excited. It's going to be fun. Tonight's our first episode. I'm sure I'll
Rich,
look like an asshole.
How many episodes in before Nicole is like, she knows she's got something else going on? You know what I mean? Like she'll never.
I'd say they probably.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. I don't know, but I'm guessing they probably have like a 6 to 10 episode commitment.
Mhm.
Once, if it goes beyond that, and they pick it up for more.
Yeah.
Then she goes Hollywood.
Okay. Because then she'll be like, it's not that she'll be like acting like an asshole to you guys,
Right.
but she will be. I don't need this. I don't need this, right?
That is not.
I'm doing it for you.
Like, I don't need this anymore.
But I wouldn't.
I have alternatives.
No, I wouldn't be there without these guys.
I have the United States of hip hop.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go on Gossip Game on VH1. And then I'm going to go on Hip Hop Wives. And that you could have a whole career out of this, Nicole. If you could become like a hip hop girl because you just got thrown onto this show.
Literally just thrown.
Just thrown on.
What if she? It's a matter of time before she starts wearing hoop earrings with their name in them.
Right. Oh yeah, she is.
It's funny because Rich saw a couple pictures when I first taped it, and he goes, "Oh, they're totally trying to make you the Puerto Rican on the show."
Yeah, they're totally. If you look at the scene, they've totally Puertoed her up to the point where. It looks like it's 2 black dudes and a Puerto Rican chick. They
Does it? Because you are darker than
Most.
White people, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they're trying to make me look Puerto Rican. I think they're just trying to make me look like me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Make you look like Nicole from the block. Come on.
With a little edge.
What kind of, if they knew you,
Yeah.
they would know there's already some edge there that we're not going to delve into even on Fuse.
Right.
Did they put like ruby red lipstick on you?
They did put, not ruby red, but the first lipstick they put on me, I looked like Nicki Minaj. You know where she wears that like almost like white
No,
pink?
I'm not on the United States of Hip Hop. Who's
Okay.
Nicki Minaj?
Shut up. No, but she wears that obnoxious, like almost white, like Barbie pink.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was
Did
like,
they give you like a Puerto Rican girl like outline
no,
for the
and
lipstick?
and I was like, take this off. No. But I did rock a white leather jacket.
a white
one.
on the show?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's kind of a little bit out of
That's
my
very
comfort
exciting.
zone. Yeah.
Tell everybody when it's on again.
Tonight at 8:30 on Fuse.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Stands her agent now. I don't know if you know that.
Listen, see, I was getting ready to talk about your show coming up too, but that's a secret.
Who's got a show?
No.
Rich is
It's a
working on
secret.
something?
Yeah, I have a show on the Gay Network. No,
Not OutQ, but Logo. That's very
Is that what it's called?
exciting. Yeah, Logo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rich is working on something?
Yeah. What is the tonight on Fuse at 8:30?
BET is not calling back, huh, Stan? Well, Rich has
That's
some.
very funny.
Rich has something on the
what
Gay
y'all don't know
Channel.
about Stanley T, I did
Yeah.
television for many years.
Okay.
It's not what I'm
Okay.
choosing to do. I'm doing other stuff too.
Okay.
I've been there, done that.
Right.
And that's the
Google
truth.
Right.
Google it. Stanley
Right.
T in the house.
Stanley T. Into House was the name of the show.
Do you
Yeah.
really want people Googling it?
Yes, it was
Okay.
a damn good show. It was on Fox 29 in Philadelphia.
And I
All
believe
right,
you
that's-
actually had Chris Rock on the show,
I had
my
Chris
first
Rock
guest
on,
tonight.
yeah, on the show we had Queen Latifah, Chris Rock, Boys to Men, Brian McKnight. I could go on.
What?
Sam.
E-Rock has the theme song.
Oh, he has the theme song to sing. That's the fuck. That is the theme song to the show. Let's check it out. And that's me going. I'm in the house. Wow, that was quick.
What the fuck?
Yo, he's super high producer. Yo, you can tease it if you want to. It was #1 in its time slot.
No, it sounds very like of the era.
It was 90s.
Yeah.
yes.
Sounds like Living
very-
Single.
It sounds very Living Single.
Yeah. It was on before Living Single.
Check it out.
I think we were also complimented. It was the first real reality show because we used to take
Before
these
Cops?
Yeah. We used to take not before Cops. So I guess the second.
Okay.
We used to take people to
Wait, how did
stars
that
to
end?
people's houses.
How did that end?
And it's like this. I'm in the house.
I like that. I like that.
sexual.
Go. Google it. Stanley T in the house.
So you had your shit going on.
Yeah, man.
So he's
I've been there,
over
done
it.
that.
Been there, done
Yeah,
that.
been there, done that.
How did you have the theme song
I don't
queued
know how
up?
he found it
He's
out
a
so
fan
quick.
of the
He
show.
must have. He could probably Googled it.
Are you watching?
Or it's on his iPad.
Yeah, are you watching old episodes of Stanley's in the House
Yes.
in between Fraggle Rock?
Yeah, they got a few.
No, I
of them
found
online.
out a long time ago, and I talked to Stan about it, but I just pulled and had it, just waiting for the day we could actually play it.
Just
Yeah.
waiting for the day. E-Rock's got all kinds of little prizes back there.
Yeah.
He does,
That
he
he's
does.
just waiting for the day.
Just waiting for the moment, and there
Yeah.
it was.
There it was.
But I'm excited about these cats being on TV because they need
Okay,
TV.
that's another. We're saying Rich has something in the works.
I don't
Rich
know.
will eventually be on TV no matter what.
Yeah, but he has something specific in the works that we're not talking about.
He's just so damn handsome.
Yeah,
Is that it?
Yeah, he needs to be on TV. I've been telling him that
What
for
did
years.
you just plug into my console?
I got my new headphones.
And you just walk studio to studio
Well,
plugging
because-
in your own
no,
shit?
because Jimmy Norton's headphones barely fit. I don't know if he stretched them out. I can barely hear in them. I'm just trying to make sure that I can.
You're
And,
wearing shiny headphones.
And she's real hip hop. You
Hollywood.
know.
Okay. Is she wearing these on the mashup?
Yes, she was.
Oh,
They
come
were- they were
on.
a gift.
She's gone Hollywood now, as you know.
You travel with your own headphones.
No, they were a gift, and I wanted to try them out.
And they're
dude.
bright like a diamond.
So how long is it going to be before Nicole has her own mic on the mashup that's one of those rhinestone deals?
Well, that's happening tomorrow.
That's just happening.
That's happening, please.
You know, United States of Hip Hop, you know who's coming in here today?
Who?
Lil Jon.
Really?
He's coming in here
Do
today.
you know? Now, do you know Tay Tay from
Oh, I know
Cosmo,
Tay
yeah.
Tay.
from Cosmo?
And that ass.
She and I went out to Vegas with some of the Shade 45 boys a while back.
Okay,
And
wait.
That seems like an odd combo.
Yeah.
Now, what happened here? Is that where you first started to learn about these United States of
Yes,
Hip
when I
Hop?
first started learning about hip hop. No,
Yeah.
we went out and Lil Jon walked in and he whipped Tay Tay with one of his dreads by accident. And she goes, "Yo, watch out!" He goes, "Okay, watch out!" And he was like all up in her face.
He was doing the Lil Jon thing?
Yeah, in Tay Tay's face. He was like the whitest girl ever. And
Not the Celebrity Apprentice Lil Jon, the Lil Jon.
yeah,
Crunked.
She is the whitest girl ever until she turns around.
yeah, she's got quite an ass that Tay.
Vavoom.
Yeah. What are we saying? Come on in, Spencer. I don't hear what you're saying. What are you saying?
We should leave.
You talk- is he here now?
Yeah, it's a little early.
All right, so we'll
Yeah, I'll hang out with Lil Jon.
Yeah,
We'll go and you
send
do
him
the
in.
John
We'll
thing.
get
Yeah.
out of there. Later, buddy.
All right, I'll see you later, Rich. Congratulations on the TV deal we're not talking about. Spencer, Rich has a TV show that's coming out. Rich has a big TV deal.
I'm going to unplug my
you take
sassy
unless you want to leave those for Little John.
I don't know if Little John will like them.
Maybe not. They're shiny. He likes bling.
And I said Rich should be on TV.
No, you put your foot in some shit there.
Right, Mama's out.
I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Sam, I love you deeply.
Thank you for saying that, Nicole. Congratulations. I can't wait to see your big... Is this your debut?
Well, I mean, I've been on TV before, but this is my own show now.
Right. Your big hosting debut.
Yeah.
On United States of Hip Hop.
Yeah.
At 8:30 p.m. tonight on Fuse.
Yeah.
Google Fuse. It's a TV channel.
Or Google Stanley T in the house. Even better.
Or Google that.
She's come a long way from posing on VHS tapes.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Oh, my God. Celebrity after celebrity piling. Yeah, bring him in. What do you mean? Making Little John wait. Don't make Little John wait. This is a king. Little John. Welcome, man. Come on in. We're on the air now.
All right.
Yeah, dude. Make yourself comfortable wherever you want. How's it going?
It's early as hell.
It is.
That's what it is.
You're not an early riser.
Hell no.
No.
I get up at noon.
No. You get up at noon?
Like 11.
That's nice. That's nice. You know, you always, I'm glad that you're honest about that, though, because hip-hop guys, they always come in, they're like, no, man, I'm about my business. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning doing, like, 50 Cent comes in and he pretends he never goes to sleep. But look at his complexion. He goes to sleep at some point and then bags under his eyes.
Right. I mean, no, I'm DJing all the time and I'm out. So I'm not going to bed till 4 or 5 a.m.
So you still actively DJ in clubs?
Yeah, I mean, I have a residency at Vegas at the Wynn. I just got, Vegas Resident DJ of the Year.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm definitely DJing very heavily.
So you and Penn Jillette are the Vegas guys over on Celebrity Apprentice this year.
He's doing his thing over at, I don't know what hotel it is, but yeah, I'm at the Wynn. I'm doing all of the Wynn and the Encore clubs.
What's a residency like? Like what type of time commitment is that?
I'm there like, well, the last 4 weeks I've been there every week, and I have, last week I had 2 gigs in 4 days.
Wow.
in Vegas.
So you live out there?
I pretty much live in the hotel,
Is that a weird thing?
No, I mean, I live in L.A. too most of the time, like pretty much. So it's only out 45 minutes, an hour flight from Burbank to Vegas, so it's like easy.
Right. So do you keep your family in Vegas or out in Burbank?
Oh, we live in Sherman Oaks.
Oh, okay. Now, I have to, because Celebrity Apprentice, this is your second season doing it, because this is the All-Star thing. But it did, when you were first on Celebrity Apprentice, it did crazy things, because everybody's like, what? He says more than 4 words? Like, he's actually forming sentences and wearing suits and doing well on this show.
Yeah, I think I definitely surprised a lot of people with how long I lasted, especially my castmates. Funny story, the first day we all kind of met as a cast, and the first day we all gathered and had to do like press and pictures. I had a gig the night before, so I was hungover and stuff, and I went and passed out on the couch for like 4 hours because we had a nice break at one point. So everybody's looking at me like, oh yeah, he's not gonna last.
Right,
and
it's the first time you're meeting all the cast, like all these celebrities, like, oh, what do you mean? And you're just like, no, dude.
Yeah, so
I'm
good. They had no idea, so that was just like a pretty funny story that they were counting me out from the beginning, and then as we, got to work, people got to see a different side of me, and the world did too.
Will you just stop partying while you're filming Apprentice?
Well, I mean, you can't do nothing but work. I would have gigs on the weekend because we would work Monday through Saturday, and I have Saturday nights off, and I get on a plane and go somewhere.
And you go and do a gig or something.
Yeah. But it's 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hour days. So by the time we wrap, it's like get something to eat and go to bed.
So when you do Apprentice, are you worried that, especially when you first did it, that this kind of aura that you've built up around yourself as just like the party king is going to kind of go away because people are going to see you as a businessman?
No, because people know, I mean, I think people understand to be successful in anything, you gotta have some kind of focus. You can't drink your way into success.
Right.
You can't party your way into success. You have to focus at some point. So
as much as you try to look like it's just an accident, somebody just found you to yell on a microphone.
Right.
You know.
I think people at the end of the day know it, and I think, people respect me more. Especially this season. Like, I got a lot of respect after doing the first season from people that weren't my normal fan base, like grandmothers and grandfathers. And this time, I've noticed even more of a wide variety of people coming up. It's like the whole family. Like, probably 8-10-year-old girl came up to me. It's like, yes, you're Lil Jon from Celebrity Apprentice. And her mom was like, yeah, we watch you all the time. And the grandma was like, yeah, I was rooting for you. So it's like the whole family, because I guess it's Sunday nights. And people are, families are together. And I mean, they like the show. And thank God for DVRing, and T-Bone or whatever, because people can watch all of their favorite shows now. They don't have to miss nothing.
Because I feel like your first crossover to mainstream success, like you were doing crunk forever, and then what really crossed you over to almost pop music was when you had college girls yelling about sweat dripping down their balls.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a big record. I play that record now, and you hear the whole club singing the lyrics and pointing to the window to the wall.
Right. But when you're writing these lyrics, and they're like the raunchiest lyrics you've ever heard, and then you're looking around the club, and there's girls singing these lyrics like it's nothing. Are you going like, what are you doing?
Nah, I mean, the Yin Yang Twins wrote that hook, but it was just catchy. It was just like a nursery rhyme. It was a dirty nursery rhyme, basically. So it's like, it's so catchy and infectious, you're going to chant it. So I don't know.
Is that the secret, to make something that's catchy enough? Because girls will obviously chant whatever if it's catchy.
Right.
But dirty enough that guys will be like, that shit's hilarious. Like, is that the secret to...
I think guys just, if the women are partying, then the guys don't give, they don't
care.
They just they following the girls. The girls dancing, they shaking their asses, twerking as they say these days.
Right.
Then they're watching and they don't give a damn.
You have to stay up on all that, by the way. Like, you have to know what twerking is before I know what twerking is.
We've been saying twerking in the South for 15, almost 20 years.
Is that what's happening? You're just waiting for everybody else to kind of catch up with what...
It's a Southern term, and it just means the booty pop.
Is it difficult, though, to keep up now because you're kind of... You're more of a mainstream celebrity level guy, and you're an older guy now than you were.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to keep up with what's cool?
It's definitely a little hard. It's harder because, the new generation, the music is a lot different from when I was around, and so much has changed. But I got a 15-year-old son. Mm-hmm. So he'll turn me on to stuff. Like, he turned me on to Kendrick Lamar and a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, wow. So it's crazy that I got to go to my son to find out what's the next or what's the underground thing. It's like I feel like the old guy now. But
you also hear something that's just ridiculous. Like, we were playing Trinidad James on this show, and it's like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. And you're like, well, nobody's going to listen to it. And you're like, no, everybody is listening to that.
It really caught on really big. And that song got big because of the Molly line, because it's just funny to say, pop the Molly, I'm sweating. Woo.
Right.
And then the video for that song was hilarious, too. Mm-hmm. So all of that helped to just launch him into pop culture.
What do you think about how big SZA has kind of gotten now? Like, that kind of that was another thing that started. I'm sure you were aware of SZA from way back.
Yeah, I used to go to Texas a lot, and it was funny. Sometimes I'd be in the club in Houston, and I just see people just sleep. And it's that syrup. They was on that lean, and they just sleep in the club, sleep. Like, I'm like, what the hell? And they like, that's syrup, man. So, they've been doing that forever, too, in the South, and mainly in Texas. Then it started to spread out. Now it's all over the place. I never touched that stuff.
You don't?
Nah.
Why?
I don't want to be sleepy.
Right, because you see these people asleep in the club, and you're like...
I'd rather be wired. I drink tequila. Don Julio.
Somebody's liable to be taken advantage of in that position.
For real.
You're just an alcohol guy?
Yeah, I just drink Don Julio tequila, man. A lot of tequila.
Is there any lyric, when you're writing lyrics, is there any time when you're like, because I would imagine when you're first starting, you're like, okay, I really got to think about these lyrics and then you kind of realize, no, I got to be as simple as humanly possible. Is there any lyric that you've ever been like, this is too simple. There's no way that something as basic as this?
Yeah, when I did a really big song on my album called "Lovers and Friends" with Usher and Ludacris.
Right.
It's a line in the song. I said, "Up in the bathtub, rubber dubbing," and I was like, "Oh shit." Well, I was like, "Fuck it, it works. Fuck it."
Yeah.
And then some people in the beginning were like,
What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah. And then the song was just huge, and it was crazy to me when people would play the song. That's the lyric that stuck out the most out of everything Usher said, everything Luda said. It was you can fade the fader over, and the whole club is in the bathtub, rubber dubbing. I was like, wow, that's fucking crazy. You just really don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know sometimes.
But you got at that point when something like that happens, you just say, I'm just going to trust myself
right
from here on out,
exactly.
And as weird as it gets, whatever.
Exactly, because it's really about the feeling. When you're making music, it's about what feels right.
I mean, my wife, she gets drunk, like one glass of wine is all she can handle. But it doesn't stop her from yelling out shots when that song comes on. She's not doing any shots.
That song is going to be the the worldwide drinking anthem forever. Like, it's amazing to be a part of something that you know is going to last forever. Like, I was blessed to have Get Low. That's still going.
Right.
I was blessed to have Yeah. That's still going.
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed to have Blow the Whistle. They're still going, you know, and then to get on a record like Shots, that is the drinking, that is this age is tequila.
Yeah.
You know, like that song Tequila, da-da-da-da-da, tequila. Y'all know that. But anyway, that Shots has taken that song's spot.
Yeah.
There's no other song that epitomizes drinking like Shots does.
Do you ever get heat from people who are like, well, you're a bad influence?
No.
It never happened.
I think early in my career, because all your lyrics, the great women,
right.
We went through that era.
Yeah.
But then and
what's the best route? You just kind of ignore it and say, I'm just making party songs. Like,
I mean, I make music for grown-ups.
Yeah.
You know, I don't make music for 10-year-olds. And I'm not degrading women. I'm just talking about what I see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you don't understand that culture, then you can't speak on that culture, because that doesn't fit for you. So, you know, I don't degrade women at all. I respect women a lot. My mother was the strong figure in my life, so I have a lot of respect for women. I just talk about what I see in the club or whatever.
And then you put the song on in the club, and it's not like women are looking around at you
like,
outraged, like, how could you say this?
Please turn that off.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, they're shaking their damn asses.
Right.
So it's not my fault.
You're doing your job.
Daughter is twerking in the club.
I didn't teach her how to twerk. I just supplied her the rhythmic.
She learned from YouTube.
Yeah. Twerking is taught in the home.
I was surprised that Miley Cyrus made a twerk video.
Yeah.
Did you see that video?
I didn't see the Miley Cyrus twerk video.
She has on a costume and she's twerking. It's kind of weird.
Is she good at it?
She got a little booty, so it's not twerking as hard.
No.
But she twerking it.
Right.
She's twerking a little booty.
It's like it's not the size of the boat, it's the motion of the ocean.
But, I mean, I give her a thumbs up for trying.
Yeah,
I mean,
A for effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see the video of, like 30 kids got suspended from high school because they had their AV department, and it was like 3 guys and then like 27 girls. And they all got together and made a twerking video in the high school with all the high school's department. And, like, you know, the one guy was just kind of standing there looking cool. And then, like, 19 girls were
it was a Harlem Shake video?
No, it was twerking because they were standing on their heads.
Oh, they were doing, that's what they call express yourself. That's Diplo's thing. When they're on their heads and their feet are on the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, that's express yourself.
Oh, okay, okay.
Keep up, man.
You're good.
Express yourself.
I'm not in the club like you're in the club. Like, that's where it happens.
That's another craze that's going around. Like,
that's different than twerking?
I guess it's a part of twerking, but the song where that started from was a song called Express Yourself by Diplo, and it's actually a twerking song. It's a song, the guy I think is from New Orleans, and the beat is New Orleans influenced, and twerking kind of comes from New Orleans peep-hopping music, booty shaking music, and basically in the video, he had some girls upside down shaking their asses on the wall, and that it was express yourself. So he started a thing called, people might tweet pictures of themselves and it'd be tagline, hashtag express yourself.
And that's what they're doing. They're on their heads twerking.
Twerking. On their heads expressing themselves.
Express
yourself, girl. Y'all can express yourselves right now.
Yeah, go out there, unless you're driving.
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
In which case, pull over and express yourself on the side of the road.
Yeah.
When you were making are you married? You're married, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been married for?
8 years now.
Wow. So 8 years. That's kind of a lot of the height of your fame, really, right?
Yeah.
Like mainstream fame. Is that difficult?
I mean, it's hard when you're on the road. Like I just don't get to see my family and as much as possible. But you learn to, when you come off the road, you just make that time up with your family and spend as much time as possible.
But is it difficult to avoid temptation? Because I mean, I know I wasn't in college that long ago, and when I was in college, I mean, any white college girl wanted to get with Lil Jon.
Oh Lord!
Is it difficult to avoid that kind of temptation and be
everything in life is difficult. You just gotta, you have to just teach yourself, what's right and what's wrong, and just kind of, okay, thank you, bye bye,
and realize that every one of those girls has a cell phone camera, so it's nothing going to be private.
No.
But were you able to get a lot of that out of your system before you were married anyway?
Yeah, I mean, when I started partying at 16. I was having house parties at 16 in my mom's basement. We had a pretty nice sized house, and so I went through a lot of partying. So I mean, like I was a black kid. We had kegs. Black kids don't have keg parties. We had keg parties.
Wow.
So I had some partying going on in my backyard.
Did you grow up in a black neighborhood?
Yeah.
Or was it white? It was a black neighborhood. Yeah. You were the black kid with the kegs.
Well, I mean, we used to skate, so we were in different kind of culture. Like I grew up. I mean, I went to a black high school, but I was a black skater in a black high school in the 80s.
And this was before like Lil Wayne was trying to make black skating cool again and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a couple of black skaters like Steve Stedham, and it was like this one pro guy from Atlanta that we skated with sometimes. So Christian Hosoi and Bones Brigade and all those guys, Tommy Guerrero, those were like my skate idols. But it was like I said, it was only one black pro. It was Steve Stedham. So he had dreads.
How did you end up skating? Have you had dreads forever?
I had dreads since the 90s.
No, okay.
But
how did you end up skating? Like, how did you get into...
You know what? I got into skating because I ended up getting a job. My first real job was at a shop renting skates and bikes to people that went to the park.
Okay.
And they also had they had a skateboard shop next door that was part of the same business. So I rented the skates and the bikes to people. There was a bike shop next, like joined to that, and then joined to that also was like the skate shop, and where you could go buy roller skates and you can get snacks and ice cream and stuff when you came from the park.
Right.
So I guess from being over there, I started to see the skaters come up and skating, and I think that's how I kind of initially got into skating.
How did the black kids was skating something you could do? That's what I was gonna ask you.
I was a damn outcast.
Were they like, what the fuck is John doing on a skateboard?
Well, actually, I think I might have started skating because I got into punk culture. I can't remember. It was all around the same time. I'm the black kid in the all black high school. This punk.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I mean, I just wanted to. I don't know. I just was expressing myself. I guess being different.
Not like that. Not like we know express yourself now.
Right. I just was. I guess I just love culture, in general, and new things are exciting to me, and it always have.
And it's not what's around you all the time. You're like, there's this whole punk thing going on over here. Like, what's this all about?
And the energy and the mosh pits and the music, like it was like, wow, like this is amazing.
And then the kids were ostracizing you, but you were like, I'm going to get some kegs over at my house.
Right. Actually,
it's all good.
Crazy thing is, I had the biggest parties in high school. Even though I was the outcast, I had the biggest, craziest parties. So,
you've always just been a guy who likes to have parties.
Yeah. I mean,
you're a good party host.
The most amazing thing to me is that I started doing parties at 16, and I was known for that. And now, way later in life, I'm known for partying.
Yeah.
Like still, it's like a parallel universe or something. But it's crazy that now that's what I'm known for.
I knew partying was not for me. When I was in college, we always used to go to, my friends used to throw the craziest parties right next door. So we'd always go to their place. It was great.
Right.
But one night, me and my roommate were like, we should have a party at our place. And we got their beer pong table, and we brought it over, and I don't know, we messaged a couple of our friends, I guess.
Right.
But we ended up, like, sitting down at the couch at, like, 10 o'clock, and we were like, let's just play SmackDown on PlayStation until people start coming. And
Like,
we're just
like on Project X.
right. And so we're just playing, and then we realize it's like 1:30 in the morning. Nobody's coming to this party.
Oh, wow. So it's not like Project X.
No. It's more like commercial for PlayStation. It's like, that was what we were doing. So we went next door, and it was all good. But how do you throw a good party? You just got to know people. You got to have good music.
You got to know, like, in my case back in the day, I used to know a couple of different people at a couple of different schools, and some of them were older. So I would just get on the phone. Some of them were older, some of them were my age. I just get on the phone and be like, yo, we'll plan a party in one day. We just wake up and be like, let's have a party tonight. Because I had the turntable set up already in my house, so you just instant party, just add DJ.
Yeah.
So we just get on the phone, yo, I'm going to have a party tonight. So tell everybody. And the people just start calling, and it's like the flu.
And I guess you get a reputation, like, oh, there's a party here. Like, last time it was good.
Yeah.
We just keep coming.
I think one of the first big parties I had like 40 people spend the night. 40 people sleepover after that party.
And was this where your parents weren't home, I'm assuming?
Yeah, they were there.
They were there?
Yeah. I mean, my house it's not like...
Were they at the party?
It was upper middle class, so it was like a 4-level house, swimming pool, tennis court, basketball court. So it was like... I could be the basement where I live was like a mini apartment.
Right.
Like I had the turntable set up when you walk down the steps. It was like a kitchen area, bathroom, living room, TV room. So it was space for 40 people to congregate.
And your parents were all good with it?
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, as long as it's in our house, at least he's not doing it someplace else.
Exactly.
He's going to end up partying. That's obvious. Did you, when you had to go on Celebrity Apprentice, did you get beaten up when you were ostracized, or did you just kind of like they were just making fun of you?
No, they just make fun of you.
Right.
Just talk crap.
Right.
And in black high schools, you got to learn to talk crap back.
Right, and then they won't beat you up as long as you could talk with them.
Right. So it's like, or I would just act crazy because they used to think they thought punk rock kids were devil worshippers. They didn't understand the difference between different types of rock music, so to speak. So I just be acting like, and they be like, oh, that dude is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't have anything to do with them.
Or I just talk shit back to them.
Right. You just come out, you just show up wearing like all black and like a chain wallet or something. I don't want him around here.
Oh, no, I wasn't doing that. We were like crazy little hair and army jackets and shit with combat boots, steel toes. So that type of shit.
So when you're going on The Apprentice and you're like, okay, I'm gonna let people understand that I know how to operate in a business world. I'm a multi-functioning human being.
Well, Dave Chappelle actually set people up to see the other side of me.
Well, I was
gonna have to think about that too.
I was gonna ask you, like, you talk about blessings. Yeah. How amazing was it when that Dave Chappelle skit took off of him just going, yeah, what?
I mean
that.
Every time I see Dave, I thank him because he helped me to go places music would never have been able to take me.
Yeah.
And it's classic, and that is going to be around forever as well, and it's still hilarious.
People didn't know who Lil Jon was, and they were doing the impression. Then they found out there was a real Lil Jon, and they were like, "Oh shit!
Right,
he really is this guy too."
Right, and it was awesome to go on the show and to actually do myself with him. Right. To improv with one of the great comedians of our time is who can say they've done that? Not a lot of people.
But you were smart too, because I feel like a lot of people would have been like, look, I want everybody to know I'm a lot more than what Dave Chappelle makes me look like. I don't walk around with that chalice everywhere. I say more. But you were like, no, I'm going to do it even more. Whatever he's doing, I'm going to do it more.
I mean, it was great advertisement for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, that it set people up to see the other side, because people were like, is he really like that? Because he really intelligent, you know.
Does he have a British accent?
So, I mean, The Apprentice is not really a far stretch from that. It shows people that, basically.
They're like, oh, yeah, I remember when Chappelle did it. Of course he's like that.
Yeah.
But
so he's really like that.
Was there any question about whether or not you're going to take out your diamond teeth? Do they come out?
Yeah, they come out, but I mean, even though I'm on the show, I have to still be myself, you know? So this is me, and... Like,
Donald Trump is weird, though, because, like, anytime people have tattoos, he's like, I hate tattoos. But you have, like, diamond-encrusted fangs. And he's like, yeah, what's up, Lil Jon? Lil Jon's a smart guy. Lil Jon is
I guess I gained this respect, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess it's something you can change. Like, I can take the teeth out. So,
right. So
when I'm 65, I might not be wearing a grill.
So they go in and out, like, every day?
Yeah.
It's amazing. The lights in here when you're just laughing. Like how much is that grill worth? Do you say?
No, I don't really know because
what's the carat?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
He's got Lil Jon has like his first is it just his first 4 teeth?
Oh, like
1, 2, 3, 4, and then the fangs come down. They're long fangs, but they're all. Is it gold and diamonds?
Yeah, gold and diamonds, white and yellow diamonds.
Does it take you a long time to learn to talk with it?
I had a grill so long. It's like. I think when I first started, I had to love this and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you get used to it.
And it was probably a real cheap one at first. Like,
yeah,
it was like...
It definitely wasn't like this.
No. Like, so do they, for the ones like you have now, the real deal,
yeah.
Do you have to go to a dentist and get fitted? And...
No, I go to Paul Wall, the rapper.
Paul Wall.
Paul Wall gave me my first grill. Him and Johnny Dang.
So Paul Wall is like a legit grill dude.
He hooked everybody in the industry up with grills.
Before he was rapping, or while he was rapping?
Yeah, when they did the song Grills, and the grills got really extremely
That's
popular.
just an infomercial for him.
For real.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, he's hooked everybody up, and he's hooked me up for years. Like, him and Johnny Dang do the best work.
Is there a difference? Like, do they have to, like, take a mold of your teeth and everything?
Yeah. He actually has taken the mold a couple of times. Himself, for real. Like, he really does that. So,
is there a difference? Like, is there... like past the point of no return? Can it get so ridiculous that you're like, that's stupid, man, I don't know why you would do that? Or is it just like, yeah, keep going, yes?
I think it's always a ridiculous point. Like, T-Pain is my homie, but he made a chain that said big ass chain. I'm like, T-Pain, are you kidding me?
It's stupid, man.
You got that much money where you can make a chain that says big ass chain, and it was this big,
and the words are written in diamonds,
yes,
and gold,
yes,
and it's like you're talking about $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 worth of so you could be stupid.
Yeah, big ass chain.
How successful do you have to be before you can actually afford to do something like that? Like before, I know because some people will buy the grill first or buy the big ass chain first, but you seem like you have a head on your shoulders. Like how successful do you have to be before when you could do it that it actually makes sense?
Well, I think once you...
or does it ever make sense?
Looking back now at all the jewelry I bought, like I'm like, why did I even buy some of that stuff? I mean, but I guess you have to be a part of the times, and you have to represent like your peers. Like you have to, you have a certain status you got to keep up with.
So that's part of it. Staying in the mix is a big,
but like
it's an expensive thing.
I don't do the jewelry no more. The only thing I might do is the old school rope chain. I don't like all the flash anymore. Like I'm not.
Well, you've reached a point in your career, like people know who Lil Jon is. Like you don't need to have that stuff.
But I think with a lot of rappers or people who want to look like rappers, it's just too much attention you drawing to yourself. And you know, back in those days, you had the Source Awards and all of that type of stuff, and people get robbed. And, so it was just, it's too much.
But then if you haven't seen, we mentioned it a minute ago, if you haven't seen the Trinidad James video, look it up on YouTube. Because then you have him, who nobody really knows who he is, but he's rolling down the street with a gold shopping cart. So you have to take notice. Yes, watch the video again.
I never noticed that it was gold.
The shopping cart is gold. He's holding a puppy in his hand. Like, he's the man.
Yeah, it's hilarious video.
So we got to let you go. Celebrity Apprentice finale is on Sunday. Did you think you were going to win? You were in the final 4.
I thought I was going to get to the final 2.
You did.
Do
Did you think who was it? It was down to like you and Trace, right?
Me, Trace, and Penn. I thought it was gonna be me and Trace actually.
Oh, you thought you guys would be the final two.
Yeah.
So when he split you guys up into 2 pairs and said, "I'm gonna fire one from Penn and Lisa and one from John and Trace," were you going like, "Oh shit"?
Yeah. I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Because I figured Lisa was gonna go. I mean, I love Lisa, but Lisa.
Yeah, she was lucky to make it that far.
I mean, if you compare Lisa and Penn, you're gonna pick Penn.
Right.
And then me and Trace I think we were pretty much even. He's just got me on the fundraising. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I mean, I've been strong in every task and I kicked ass in every task, but I'm just not a good fundraiser. Like, I don't know that side. I don't, my friends would rather go spend money on the strip club making it rain than.
Right. Charity.
What?
It's a write-off. What?
Yeah, I mean, people give money to charity, but fundraising is different from taking care of charities.
So, and charity is a stripper's name. So, you want to shout out your charity before you go?
American Diabetes Association. I think I raised over $60,000 for American Diabetes Association. So, pretty major, and just bringing awareness to diabetes, more awareness for diabetes. It's over 25 million people in America with diabetes, and I mean it's a constant struggle to find a cure. And like for me, I went on the show not just trying to find a cure, but as far as for friends and family of people with diabetes, that we need to stay on top of our loved ones and make sure they're taking care of themselves, like eating right, exercise, and taking their medicine.
Yeah,
because I watched a documentary about A Tribe Called Quest where Phife. It was talked about, showed Phife's struggle with diabetes, and he basically was like, in the height of my career, I wasn't taking care of myself. And, showed, like, one time they did, I think it was Arsenio, and he couldn't do the show because he had to go to the hospital, and he lost a kidney later on, and his wife had to donate one of her kidneys, so that really hit me. And then as well as my mother had a stroke due to diabetes, and I didn't even know she was still dealing with diabetes because I hadn't heard her talk about it or anything.
Sneaks up on you though.
Since I was a kid. So I was in shock, and my brother's a doctor, and he was like, part of the complications from her diabetes is because she wasn't managing it as well as she should have been. And if me as her son, if I would have known, I would have been on her more. Yeah, about making sure she's taking care of herself. So that's one reason I went back on the show.
Well, check out the charity. Thank you for being here, Lil Jon.
Thank you.
And hopefully I'll talk to you soon. Ron and Fez are next.